This video will help you revise to eliminate passive verbs. Passive verbs are related to to-be verbs. Indeed, they always include to-be verbs, but they're a little bit different. In passive sentences, the subject of the sentence receives the action rather than performing the action. Like sentences built around to-be verbs, passive verbs can also make writing boring and wordy. Today we'll talk about revising in order to make passive verb sentences into active verb sentences, another way to help make your writing clearer and more interesting. Here's a quick explanation of passive verbs. In passive verbs, it's the subject that receives the action. You'll always want to look for a verb form plus a to-be verb, and you're going to revise by changing passive verbs into active verbs. Here's a quick reminder of the difference between passive and to-be verbs. Here's some sentences with to-be verbs as the main verb. You can see am and is. And here's Hamlet, who says to be or not to be. Passive verbs always include a form of to be plus a verb form. Here's a couple of examples. Mistakes were made. College was introduced. I'll talk you through revising passive sentences, and then you'll be able to do it on your own. Here are 4 passive sentences. We're going to go through and revise them one by one. In our first example, was required is the main verb. In order to change passive to active, we need to figure out who required us to participate in summer school. So I'll begin by supplying a subject for an active verb, my grades, and then the verb forced me. My first revision makes the sentence seem serious and urgent. My grades forced me to attend summer school. But I can also try a different revision if I want to make things sound a little less serious. Putting it this way, I had to attend summer school in order to graduate. Keeps it active without quite the sense of seriousness we might get from saying, I was forced to attend summer school. In this next sentence, we want to get rid of the verb were drummed into us. It's passive, it comes at the very end of the sentence, and it suggests we didn't learn anything while we were there. I'm going to add a subject and an active verb at the beginning of the sentence. The program emphasized personal responsibility. This makes us sound more involved rather than just a passive recipient of the action. Now here's another option for revision that places even more emphasis on what we learned rather than on what the program taught us. Saying that I learned personal responsibility does exactly what it says. It shows that we're responsible for our own actions. I'm going to stick with the first version though, because I like describing the summer program rather than what I learned from it. The verb in the next sentence is, it was determined. Here again, we want to revise to indicate what it was that determined that I would be able to attend college. In this case, I know it's earning good grades in my summer school classes that enabled me to go on to college. But I can revise this another way if I don't want to limit my discussion just to my grades. In this last sentence, the main verb is were shared. A good rule of thumb is if you have by followed by some other words in a passive sentence, you have the subject of an active sentence. Here it's first-generation students. I can just move that to the front of the sentence and make it the subject. I can also keep the same verb, just making it active. Saying many first-generation students share these questions is not only more interesting, it's also more straightforward, clearer, and to the point. Well, good luck revising your passive verbs into active verbs.